What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Stefan Tyrone and I moved to Sweden 10 months ago from America. I love to talk about the differences in American and Swedish culture on the channel, as well as any other experiences I have while traveling. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. With that being said, we're gonna jump into today's video, which are 5 things that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden. Now, the first thing that I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is paid paternity leave for up to a year long. This is a really foreign concept to me as an American. Paternity leave is not something that's like always available in America, and it seems like it's starting to become more and more popular, but nowhere near the paternity leave that they have here in Sweden, where fathers can take up to a year off to be with their kid. In America, usually the mother will get some maternity leave time, but nowhere near the amount of time that parents get here in Sweden to be with their kids. And I think it's really nice that Swedes can have that time with their kids during the developmental years of their lives. I think that's a really good way to build those strong family connections and play a big role in the development of your child. So it's cool that this country is really supporting of that maternity and paternity leave. Now, in my own scenario growing up, my mom took 7 years off of work to raise my brother and I growing up. And so basically we were a single income family of 4, just living off of my dad's teaching salary. But at the same time, I feel really lucky that my mom did take all that time off to be with my brother and I as we were being raised. I feel like that really made our childhood extremely special. So it's cool that in Sweden, they have a support system in place so that more parents can take that time off to be with their kids. The second thing I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is Systembolaget. Now, I already did a video about alcohol laws in Sweden versus America on my channel. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. Link somewhere, probably in the description. Basically, I had never heard of Systembolaget. In America, every state has different liquor laws. So for example, the state that I live in, you can buy alcohol at the grocery stores, but there are some states that do have special liquor stores. But pretty much in most states, I think almost every state, you can at least buy beer and wine at grocery stores. So it was kind of crazy to me coming across this Systembolaget and their strange hours at times, not being open on Sundays or not being open past 3 o'clock on Saturdays. I think that's the correct time. I think there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to Systembolaget, which I cover in my other video. But yeah, that is something that I completely had no idea existed. And it actually is the biggest liquor buyer in the world, I believe. I hope I said that right. They are the one group that purchases the most alcohol because basically they're providing alcohol for the entire country of Sweden, which is really cool actually. The third thing that I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is the sport Bandy. Now, let me say there are a lot of sports here in Sweden that we don't have in America and vice versa. Now, Bandy is a really cool sport, and it kind of took me by surprise the first time I saw it. There's actually a place really close to where I work where there's this just huge like soccer field size ice skating rink, I guess you could say, like a field of ice basically. And basically what Bandy is it's outdoor ice hockey that the people play 11 versus 11 with a ball, and basically they've got goals the size of soccer goals and they're skating around on the ice with their sticks and everything, trying to score on the big goals. It was really a sight to see for me because I had never seen anything like that before, and I thought it was really cool. Now, there's a ton of other sports here in Sweden that they play that they don't really have in America and vice versa. For example, some of the ones that I've run into recently is floorball is really common here. They call it innebandy in Sweden. And it's basically like the floor hockey that we have in the States, but in the States, they play floor hockey with a puck, whereas here in Sweden, the clubs are a little bit different and they actually use a ball rather than an indoor hockey puck. And it is much more common for people to play innebandy or floorball here in Sweden than floor hockey is in America. It's not quite as common. There are some other cool sports like Brännboll is basically the Swedish version of kickball or baseball, but in this version, players toss the ball up to themselves and hit it. And for the defense in Brännboll, instead of trying to throw the ball to the bases to get the runners out, there's actually just one burner, what it's called, in the middle where you can throw the ball to them. And if they get the ball and somebody's not on base, they get burned. So Brännboll is kind of like the Swedish version of kickball or baseball. Kickball, for those of you that don't know, is basically baseball, but you kick it instead of hit the ball with a bat. So that's a really, really fun variation, but a lot of times Swedes have a hard time learning baseball and kickball because they're so used to just throwing the ball to a certain spot, whereas in baseball and kickball, you have to throw it to a specific base in order to actually get people out. So it's been really, really cool for me to experience some different takes on some different sports, and it seems like the sports here in Sweden are very, very similar to the sports in America, just with some slight differences that is kind of interesting to compare between the two countries. The fourth thing that I didn't know existed before coming to Sweden, I'm going to group this in as like a lot of the clothing brands that people will wear here. Now, Swedes are known for being very well dressed, but the clothing brand that I want to highlight is Gant. Never seen Gant before. They may have a store in New York. I could be wrong on that, but Gant is something that I've never seen. I like to equate it to like the Swedish version of Polo Ralph Lauren. Swedes like to wear a lot of those designer, nice looking clothes. Gant to me seems very, very similar to Polo Ralph. It looks really good. I've never owned anything personally from Gant, but I do think that it looks really, really sharp. And yeah, I never knew that existed before moving to Sweden. And the last thing that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden is Surströmming. Now, this should be no surprise. Surströmming to me just seems like a very, very weird thing. It's basically rotten fish. So for me, I was like, what the heck? This is actually a thing. When people told me about Surströmming, I really thought they were joking at first. But actually, to be honest with you, most of the Swedes I talked to have never actually eaten Surströmming. It's more of a traditional food and more of something that they would do in the very north of Sweden to eat this basically fermented rotten fish. But a lot of people have asked me to try Surströmming on my YouTube channel. So someday when I work up the courage, I may actually do that. But I have heard that it just smells completely terrible, and that smell is just super pervasive. So I do not plan on opening the Surströmming in our apartment. So I have been warned, and I'm gonna do it a safe way if I actually end up doing that. But stay tuned to the channel because I'm sure at some point I will. I want to experience everything this country has to offer. So with that being said, those were the 5 things that have really stood out to me that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden. Be sure to comment which one surprised you the most. I'm really, really curious to see what you guys have to say. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.